Everyone thought Tikin-chan was just another quiet player standing in the background. But what if the truth is that he was never in the background at all? What if every move, every silence, and every pause was part of a long game that only ends in blood and power? From the moment Tikin-chan appeared in Season 3, something felt off about him. He did not speak much. He did not rush decisions. He did not show fear when others did. In a city where loud voices usually mean power, Tikin chose silence, and that silence made him dangerous. While others fought for corners, money, and respect, Tikin watched. He listened. He learned. Every time chaos broke out in Chicago, he was already prepared for it. He never reacted late. He never seemed surprised. That alone was a warning sign many characters ignored. People around him believed he was simply a calm businessman with strong connections. But calm people in this world are often hiding the most violent plans. His presence did not create noise, but it created pressure. When he entered a room, conversations changed. Decisions slowed down. People chose their words carefully. That is not normal respect. That is fear without understanding why. Tikin-chan's silence was not weakness. It was control. In Power Book 4, Force, characters who talk too much usually expose their plans. Tikin never made that mistake. He allowed others to speak first, argue first, and threaten first. That way, they revealed their thinking while he revealed nothing. Even during moments of danger, his face stayed calm. No anger, no panic, no emotion. That tells us he already knew how things would play out. When deals were made, he never rushed to shake hands. When alliances formed, he never celebrated. He treated every agreement like something temporary. That behavior suggests one thing clearly. He never believed he was equal to the people around him. He believed he was above them. To him, these players were tools, not partners. That mindset only belongs to someone who sees a bigger picture than everyone else in the room. What made Tikin-chan truly dangerous was not what he did, but how he did it. He never pulled the trigger himself. He never ordered violence directly. Instead, violence followed him like a shadow. Conflicts started after his visits. Wars escalated after his conversations. People turned on each other without realizing who pushed the first domino. That is the sign of a real mastermind. He understood that the best way to stay safe is to make others destroy themselves. While Tommy and others were busy surviving the next attack, Tikin was planning weeks ahead. He let the city burn slowly while he stayed clean. No fingerprints, no direct blame, just influence. And influence is stronger than bullets in the long run. Looking back now, the warning signs were always there. Tikin-chan never asked for permission. He never begged for protection. He never feared consequences. That means he knew something others did not. He trusted that no matter what happened, he would land on his feet. Characters like that are never minor players. They are either kings in waiting or executioners sent by someone even bigger. Episode 10 does not create his importance. It reveals it. The truth is simple but terrifying. Tikin-chan was never reacting to the power game in Chicago. He was shaping it from the shadows. And once his real identity begins to surface, it becomes clear that the war was never just about territory. It was about control from the very beginning. Tikin-chan's silence was not a personality trait. It was a strategy. In a world where everyone talks to prove strength, he stayed quiet to measure it. Every pause he took allowed others to expose their fears, their greed, and their limits. While gang leaders argued and threatened each other, Tikin listened like a judge, not a participant. He never rushed a response because he did not need to. Time was always on his side. When people speak too much, they reveal where they are weak. Tikin understood this better than anyone in the room. That is why his silence carried weight. People leaned in when he finally spoke, not because his words were loud, but because they were rare. His calm behavior during moments of chaos was another sign that he already knew the outcome. When violence broke out across Chicago, most players reacted emotionally. They made quick moves fueled by anger or fear. Ticken didn't either. He showed no shock when alliances fell apart. He showed no concern when bodies dropped. That tells us something important. You only stay calm during disaster if the disaster helps your plan. Chaos did not threaten him. It protected him. While others were distracted by survival, he was quietly gaining ground without lifting a weapon. Ticken also never treated deals as permanent. Every agreement he made felt temporary, like a stepping stone rather than a destination. He never celebrated success because success, to him, was not the end goal. Control was. When someone believes a deal is final, they relax. Ticken never relaxed. That meant he was always ready to walk away, flip sides, or let someone fall if it benefited him. Loyalty was not something he valued. Usefulness was. And once someone stopped being useful, they stopped being safe. Another key detail was how others reacted to him. People did not challenge him openly. They did not insult him or test his limits the way they did with others. Even powerful figures chose their words carefully around him. That kind of behavior does not come from respect alone. It comes from uncertainty. They sensed that crossing Ticken would bring consequences they could not predict. Fear grows strongest when people do not know where the danger is coming from. Ticken became that unknown danger. He also avoided emotional attachments. No personal grudges. No visible desire for revenge. That made him unpredictable. Emotional players can be controlled because their pain guides their choices. Ticken had no visible pain. That made him impossible to read. He did not hate anyone enough to rush, and he did not love anyone enough to hesitate. That emotional distance allowed him to make cold decisions without regret. Most importantly, Ticken never acted like an equal. Even when sitting at the same table, he behaved like someone passing through, not someone building roots. That mindset only belongs to someone with a higher position waiting for the right moment. He was never trying to survive Chicago. He was using Chicago, and his silence was the cover that allowed him to do it without being exposed. Ticken never needed to stand in the spotlight to control what happened in Chicago. His power came from movement, not presence. He was rarely the loudest voice in the room, yet events kept shifting in his favor. That was not luck. It was design. He understood something most players in the streets never learn. Real power does not come from pulling the trigger. It comes from deciding who pulls it, when, and why. Ticken mastered that balance. He placed pressure on situations just enough to push people into making violent choices on their own. That way, the blood never touched his hands. But the results always benefited him. Every conflict that exploded around him followed the same pattern. A quiet meeting, a calm suggestion, a simple comment planted at the right time. Then silence. Days later, alliances collapsed, crews turned on each other, and territory changed hands. No one ever traced those outcomes back to Ticken because he never demanded action. He allowed pride, fear, and greed to do the work for him. People believed they were acting on their own ideas, when in truth, they were walking down paths he had already cleared. Another reason his moves stayed hidden was timing. Ticken never rushed anything. While others reacted to problems as they appeared, he planned for problems before they existed. He studied weaknesses patiently. He learned who was emotional, who was desperate, and who could be pushed. When the moment came, he applied just enough force to tip the balance. One delayed shipment, one quiet warning, one removed layer of protection. Small actions created big reactions, and by the time chaos unfolded, it looked natural, unavoidable, and unplanned. Ticken also understood the value of distance. He rarely stayed close to the damage. When things went bad, he was already elsewhere, having different conversations with different people. That distance protected him from blame and suspicion. In the streets, the closest person to the violence is usually the first suspect. Ticken made sure he was never that person. He appeared clean because he designed situations where others became dirty for him. What made this strategy even stronger was his ability to adapt. If a plan failed, he did not panic. He adjusted. He never tied his identity to one outcome. That flexibility kept him ahead of everyone else. Emotional players break when things do not go their way. Strategic players simply change direction. Tikkun belonged to the second group. Losses did not anger him. Delays did not frustrate him. Everything was part of a longer timeline only he could see. By the time people started sensing that something was wrong, it was already too late. The damage was done. Trust was broken. Lines were crossed. And once those things happen, there is no easy way back. That is the genius of how Tikkun operated. He did not need loyalty because he destroyed it everywhere else. He did not need respect because fear filled the gap. And he did not need visibility because shadows gave him freedom. In the end, Tikkun Chan's greatest weapon was not violence, money, or connections. It was patience. He let others rush toward destruction while he stood still, watching the pieces fall exactly where he wanted them.